this so that if anybody is whoever can't make it can get the same information. So it's same across schools. We're all kind of hearing the same thing. I guess, Rhonda, do you want to talk about what we've done in the past, or?
Sure. No, I can do that. So what we have, just so y'all know, you've probably seen the lessons that we've been pushing out on Schoology. We were tasked with coming up with lessons that were 2 30-minute sessions, and we just kind of wanted to share with y'all some of the things that we were thinking about when we were creating these lessons. We wanted to make sure that our kids were reading and writing, and we were really trying to keep in mind that, you know, what exactly can we get done in 30 minutes? Y'all have probably seen things posted online like we have, but we really took to heart some of the things about, you know, not only our district has told us we're not trying to recreate the classroom, but this really isn't even a homeschooling situation because, you know, everybody's just kind of thrown into this. It's not where you made the decision to homeschool, now you just get to homeschool. And so it really is kind of like crisis schooling. So we were trying to find things that would allow our kids to do the things we needed them to do, to interact with text, to think about text, and to write about what they're thinking and feeling, and do that in a way that can be done in 30 minutes. So that's kind of what we've done. So if you haven't had a chance to look at the lessons, we've asked them to journal, and we have given them informational texts with not basic comprehension questions, but comprehension questions that involve inferencing their text from Newsela. And so they have that, or Newsela, however you want to say it. And they have the questions that come with Newsela. And then they've been asked to either do multiple choice on Schoology or sometimes open-ended discussions on Schoology if they have access to that. But that's not anything that is being graded. So did I leave anything out?
No, I don't think so. So right now, you know, we've been doing for the past 2 weeks. Am I still echoing?
Only a little bit.
Okay. I'm on my back porch, so maybe that's why. For the past 2 weeks, we've pushed out those review lessons, and we're going to, as of right now, continue doing that. We don't know what's gonna, pretty much in English, a lot of it is a review anyway, but with different texts and everything throughout the years. Every now and then there's new information pushed out, right? But for possibly week 3, week 4, and so on, however long we're in this, and they're coming up with a plan now, administration is, how we're gonna push it out, if and when we're gonna push out new content. And new content looks different in English language arts than it would in like social studies and math, where new concepts are being taught and they still have a lot of TEKS in the scope and sequence that need to be taught. So in the future, and what we're going to kind of ask you guys to kind of think about, Rhonda, chime in if whatever, is to think about creating new lessons, coming up with different ideas, different resources that we could use. And we have a Google Doc that we're going to share with you guys, so that we can get our brains thinking, to be prepared for, you know, new instruction in the possible weeks to come.
Because one of the things that is not going to change is we don't think, I mean, there's been no talk about this part changing, is the 30-minute lesson. So one of the things that you guys know, I'm sure as well as we do, is that it's really hard to find text for kids to read that they can read and answer questions on or interact with in some way in 30 minutes. And so finding stories or articles that are interesting, and rich enough for what we want kids to be able to do, but that are only 2-3 pages long, that can be challenging. So if we are asked to move forward and jump into what, so far we've been giving them informational articles, but if we're asked to do something where they look at fiction or poetry or something like that, then we really need to create kind of a repository of texts that we can pull from to give our kids. So we know that a lot of y'all are really wanting to do something, like you want to find something to give the kids or to create. And the biggest contribution that you can make right now is to help us find resources so that if we are asked to write these lessons, that we have a place to pull, because y'all know you can eat up some serious time trying to find resources, especially if you're looking online. So we just wanted to give y'all, like, let you know what we're kind of where we are and what we all can do to help, so that as we're asked to move forward, we have what we need to be able to do that.
And just to reiterate what Rhonda has said as well, is we're being tasked from, the principals and those in higher pay grades than us to provide engaging lessons that the students will want to do. And predominantly, we want them to do them through Schoology, through the main course as it is right now. Now, they may change that as time goes on, but they're asking us to collaborate together to come up with those things, and that it be highly engaging to the students. And if we do have to print it, that it not be multiple reams of paper for the principals. The first week's rollout, and not for our content area, but it was a lot of paper and the principals were up there for a substantial amount of time on that Sunday to get those things prepared. And we don't really, that's not the best use of everyone's time right now. And we want the students to be able to have the whole lesson or that whole session to be 30 minutes for those students. Just trying to be really cognizant of everyone's time and the stressors that the families themselves have currently.
Yeah, and we kind of thought about in the future, and I guess the curriculum writers,
Mm-hmm.
right? Can they be the source of contact, like as teachers are kind of finding things? Can they kind of be the point of contact for bouncing off ideas and all of that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think in terms of, like, what do you mean when you say bouncing off ideas? Like,
I'm trying to remember what we talked about. Like on the form.
Oh, okay. So we had said, that the grade level teams on each campus would talk to one another, and if they had, say you found, like Liz in the group chat has said, readworks.org is a good free resource. And so that we might just do a shared Google Doc for teachers to sort of have a parking lot for those ideas, and not specifically, maybe not just that readworks.org, but to have like a specific article. Oh, this one looks good for 7th grade, or this one looks good for 8th grade poetry, to sort of have a holding space where then the curriculum writers would then be the person who could bring that to the group level meeting with the ICs and the curriculum writers from all 3 schools, so that then we could collaborate together to come up with what's going to actually be sent out each week.
Yeah, because I know next week or tomorrow, we're going to get a better idea of how it's going to kind of be organized. But until then, we just want to like gather ideas.
Yes.
Yeah, we do know that they are working on a plan, and I don't know about y'all, but that's helpful for me to know, because things are kind of up in the air right now. We've had the lessons rolling out, but we still don't know how long this is going to last, but we do know that if it goes for much longer, we're probably not going to be able to continue with just pushing out News ELA articles. And so our admin team, along with central office and CNI, they are working on a plan for what that might look like as we go forward. And whenever they get that finalized, I know that they will be sharing that out with us. And that what we want to do is make sure that we at least have something to pull from, so that if they roll that plan out on Wednesday and say we're going to implement it on Monday, then we're not freaking out Thursday and Friday trying to find resources. So we're trying to we kind of have this vague idea of what's in the future, and we know that our admin teams, they know that we need a plan for this, and they are working on that. But we want to do whatever we can to be as prepared as we can. So I don't know if you can share it with them, Claire, but Claire's created a Google Doc that we will share with everyone that has, it's just like a table, and it has places for the different genres. And what we're basically asking you guys is if you can, as you search the internet, or if you have things that you already know about, like ReadWorks, like Liz shared out, commonlit.org can be good, although sometimes they're lengthy, so you just have to be careful and read through. New CLA is a good one too. We just have to make sure that we don't pick one that we've already used.
There's also stuff on Nearpod a lot of Nearpod lessons that we can take and shorten quite a bit. I just got one of Gage's, my first grader, just got a quick Nearpod lesson this morning. So that was kind of a nice break from all the stuff that we've been asked to print.
I think that Nearpod just updated some features to fit at-home learning, so it's more student-paced.
Nice.
You don't have to be there administering it every step of the way, so that's nice.
Yeah, they have like student-paced lessons, and so that's really good. Is you can set it up and you can leave it open for several days or a week or two, and the kids can just get in there and do a bunch of self-paced lessons. So yeah, that is a nice thing about Nearpod. The whole point is that every middle school is to be pushing out the exact same thing.
So my question, sorry. If this goes on longer and we're actually going to be starting out with pushing new material, are we not then going to be following the TEKS as far as scope and sequence with argumentative and research? Or are we just going to try and be finding anything at this point? Do we have an idea? Are we going to try and follow the rest of the year? Or is this, at this point, we're just kind of whatever we can do?
So, hi, Sheila. To answer your question, and great question, by the way. So Rhonda and Claire and myself have been working on that. There is some discussion going on with central office about how that will look. We were collaborating to create a plan and give that to you guys today, and then found out that we needed to have more discussion with central office about that before we sent it out, and what that will exactly look like. So that's kind of where we're at. They are really aware that each middle school was in a different place. While we were generally kind of all in the same area, not everybody ended on this lesson on this day before we left for spring break. And so they're trying to figure out what the best way would be to go forward to honor what everybody has already done, and to not overburden the parents and students who are trying to figure this out at home. Is that helpful?
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to unmute it. So my baby.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to figure out like where are we going from here? If this, because I'm looking at Claire's thing right now and it's got all different genres on it, but I mean, we just kind of want an idea of like where do we go from here?
So the discussion that we had with CNI this morning was research is a really interesting bag of tricks, and we aren't certain that that is one that we could teach effectively remotely.
Yeah, like it's hard enough to do in class when we have them all there, and then to do it remotely, it would.
30 minutes every day, and now we're talking 30 minutes twice a week.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we could think about maybe throwing in like within a fictional unit, like if you see something that interests you, like this is what Gage's teacher did. Like if you read this story and something that if there's something that you didn't already know about whales and you want to learn more, go research it. But nothing like we would teach in the classroom. Like we're not recreating the classroom.
Yeah.
One of the things that we talked about in that conversation was we do, outside of research and finishing up some of the writing that I know we were working on, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Outside of those things, we have pretty much covered, like we don't have readiness and supporting standards this year, but if we did, we would have pretty much covered every one of them because we were getting ready for STAR. Some of the other content areas still have a lot of new content that they need to teach, but we, and because ELA is so, I don't know.
Fluid.
You're building on skills they already have.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. That, you know, we can go back and we can reinforce some of the learning that they've already done through just genre studies and going back and we can revisit inferencing through every kind of genre. All of the skills that we know they need additional support in, we can really spiral back and catch a bunch of things and approach it that way. So we're kind of fortunate. We and 8th grade math are fortunate in that regard because we have hit the majority of the important things since we were going to be hitting STAR review as soon as we got back.
And we do know 7th grade, we haven't left y'all out. We do recognize that the bulk of you were probably in a really thick place of writing and getting your kids ready for that writing STAR. And we've brought that to Erin's attention that is probably something we will need to revisit as those students progress to 8th grade next year. So we're not just going, oh, well, we don't have to take the STAR. We'll just leave that writing stuff behind. We're aware that they've missed a big chunk of some writing instruction this year, and it'll need to be revisited.
And I think that's true for every grade level. You know, we know that we can't just start off at our scope and sequence where it normally starts at the beginning of the year next year. Like we're going to have to definitely look at things this summer and figure out what are some of the things that we're going to need to make sure we address in 8th grade that they should have gotten in 7th grade, but maybe didn't because we've been home since the middle of March. And so we do know that like we can't start next year like it's a regular year, that we're going to have to go back and revisit some of the things, how that's going to look and how it's going to all fit together. That's not the conversation. We haven't had that conversation yet, but it definitely is on the to-do list to be had when we get to a place where we can have it.
Does anybody have any questions or anything?
If you're asking, you have to unmute yourself if you want to be heard.
Wait, I have a quick question. The document that we're looking at right now, is this going to be what we're following? Like if we are out for the rest of the time or however many weeks, is this how the order that we're going in? Like right now, the poem and the fiction. Like, will you kind of explain the sessions on those? Am I missing that?
So this was just one attempt that the ICs made at putting together a possible like scope and sequence, if you want to call it that. This is not anything set in stone yet. This was just us brainstorming. How could this possibly look? And so the way the sessions were put together here are like if we had a 30-minute session on where they read a fictional piece, and then the second session of that same week, they read a poem that maybe was thematically linked, and then we could ask them questions that compared across text. That was just a thinking. That was just like us kind of thinking through. But this is really just an idea. It's not
set in stone.
Yeah. So we have not set that yet. So if we get to the point where they're like, yes, you need to have a definite plan for how you're moving forward and how you're addressing skills, then we will, I don't know who we is, if it's ICs, if it's curriculum writers, I don't know, but there will be a scope and sequence that is created for us to follow so that we have direction and we're not just pulling things here and there and throwing them in.
But we can use this to go ahead and pull things for, fiction and poetry and stuff like that.
Yes.
To kind of be our little dumping ground, parking lot, whatever you want to call it.
Where will this document be located? Like, are you going to share it with us?
Yes.
So we'll get an email?
Yes.
Okay.
Your
thank you.
IC, I guess we'll have the IC share it out to you guys. I think that would be the easiest way. Okay. Any other questions or thoughts or?
I think, Beth, to answer your question about skills that we need to build in for 8th grade, especially since they're going on to high school, I think that is something that when we create a new scope and sequence, that will be taken into consideration and included in that. So, so you'll know what those things are.
Yeah, Aaron this morning essentially said, we're going to tackle what we're doing right now and look at, we're very aware that kids are not going to be where they normally would be at the start of next year, and we'll adjust the scope and sequence for next year over the summer to kind of address some of those, some of that lost time.
So if the students are out for the next couple weeks or however long it is, and we start shifting from reviewing material to something from this Google Doc, have they decided or kind of thought about, is it still going to be optional? Are we going to be taking grades? I know a lot of, for instance, I teach co-teach, and a lot of our co-teach kids have seen the word optional and they've decided not to do it, even though they're the ones who are honestly probably regressing at this point and need to be doing that. I mean, or is there any sort of talk in place about moving forward, how we're going to be holding them accountable, if we're going to be holding them accountable? I know you guys may not know this, but I know just talking with other 8th grade teachers, that's kind of our concerns right now.
I do know that I can speak for I don't know what they're going to decide to do for the middle school level. I do know that at the high school level, they are looking at their logins and things that they are submitting online as far as accessing, not necessarily for a grade, but to show that they are completing assignments.
Right.
My best guess, and this is me, Jenny Marquardt's opinion, not the district's, IC position, is that that's probably something that they would move towards, but we don't know for sure. We have not been told, Claire, Rhonda, and I have not been told that we will be doing that. For right now, what we have been told is do not require students to submit anything to you.
Right.
So we're just going at that right now. It's optional, and I remember co-teach, and I know the kids will opt out given any opportunity to opt out of an assignment. Again, it's going to be one of those things where we're going to recognize and see where kids are. I do know that they are looking at the data of who is logging in and doing the things that are available to them right now.
They are having those conversations. I know some of the things that the issues that we're having to figure out are if kids don't have technology and they're doing it on a paper copy and I'm going to take a grade, how are they going to be able to submit that back to the teacher for something to be graded? And that's because if we decide to take grades, it's something that has to be accessible to everyone. So I know that's all that I know, is that those are the conversations that they're having and the problems that they're trying to solve for whether, for how that's going to look or if it's even going to happen. The last thing I heard was that, was it TEA that they were saying came out and basically said their solution for that is to leave it up to the district to decide, which is not helpful.
Yeah.
So, but they are at central office, they are having those conversations to try to figure out if that's possible to take grades and what that would look like. And as soon as they figure that out, then they'll let us know.
I'm wondering, based off the data, is there a lot of students who aren't accessing it? Or I don't even know if you guys would know,
There's
something that's going to be a really big struggle for us, or if one school accesses it more frequently than others,
Admin, like principals can access that information in Schoology. Since I can also access it temporarily, like day by day as I need to, because I'm the CTF at CSMS. So I can always look that stuff up for CSMS. It's just basic information about how many students are logging in, how many teachers are logging in, that sort of thing. Grant?
The analytics, are pretty weak on Schoology.
Yeah.
You can see some very basic things, like right now, Welborn average is about a 92% login rate for our total student population. I don't know how that compares to CSMS and AMCMS. I also know, I don't know how y'all's surveys turned out. We have about a 96% internet access rate. So solving the low tech problem is really the impediment to grades as well right now. That's a big stumbling block. And right now we are asking a lot of people around around the state what they're doing, because some districts have already made decisions. We haven't. And there is like a TEA task force that's on kind of grading and instructional practices. So we're hoping for some guidance from them, but I'm not holding my breath on that. But that's where we're at. We can see basic like accessing of Schoology, but you don't have a lot of like student level data.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Now, if we transition to like every teacher somehow, I don't know how it would work, it would be pushed out through teachers' courses, the same exact thing, then you guys can kind of see what kids are logging in and all that stuff. But as of right now, we don't have that capability. That's all an if. that gets pushed out through teachers' courses.
Yay, at-home learning. A lot of ifs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that after tomorrow or tomorrow afternoon that we get a little bit more information as to kind of the direction we're kind of trying to go, so that we can relay that information to you guys, so it's not all just up in the air and all what ifs and all that.
Yeah, we had hoped we would have more answers for y'all today, but the main thing we wanted you to know is that people are working on this. And so you're not just, I know you probably feel like you're out there in limbo a little bit, but there are people having the conversations that they need to have to try to figure this out. And so it's hard always to feel supported when you're stuck at home trying to figure things out and you don't have, you're not connected to your network, but we are working on it, and we wanted y'all to know that.
Mm-hmm.
And we have really appreciate all of the work I know you guys have put into it. Very appreciative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been fun.
An adventure for sure.
Yeah, but it's good.
It is good.
Any other quick questions or anything? Okay.
Well, if y'all have questions, just feel free to text or email us, and we will do the best to answer it or find the answer for you. And hopefully we'll be able to have another meeting sometime soon to give you more information. But it sure is nice seeing all y'all's faces.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks,
Let us know
guys.
if you need anything. Bye,
Thank
guys.
Bye-bye.